Hey, what's up? My name's Grant Kanoki. I'm a singer, songwriter, producer, and artist, and you're listening to Power 98.5.
We don't play the social game. We are social. Power 98.5. You're listening to Power 98.5, powered by United Angels Dream, your number one resource for public relations, entertainment, and multimedia. Contact them today at unitedangelsdream.com.
Hi, this is Dan Aykroyd. He's progressive. He's beautiful. He's thoughtful. He's intelligent. He's powerful. He's positive. He is Stephen Cuoco on Power 98.5 Satellite Radio.
I just had to do it. I wanted to start off with different music this time. And the reason why is we've got someone I can honestly say I consider a friend. I normally don't jump from being an acquaintance or an associate to a friend, but I really, really like this guy. All of you should know who he is. We've put the blast out. We've let everybody know what's going on. Jesse Arthur Carroll is in the house. Actor, voiceover. He's also known as a smack talker. Narrator of Backroad Truckers on the History Channel. Do I need to say more? Because I'm going to tell you, his name is getting recognized on a much more global scale. And when he gets over here to the States, it's going to be on. New York, get ready. Jesse Arthur Carroll, welcome to Live on Air with Stephen Cuoco.
Hi, Stephen. That was an awesome intro. Thank you.
You deserve it. I mean, you've got some great partnerships, great clients, Lexus, Nintendo, Wells Fargo. I mean, I can go on and on and on. GoPro, 3M, Honda. But the biggest thing of it is, you have done over 500 commercial voiceovers, under your credits.
Yeah, it's been a ton.
History Channel. That's huge. Huge.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome when I got that. It was like a dream come true. And it was right after the pandemic started as well, when that audition came through. And I didn't hear anything for about maybe 3 or 4 months. And then my agent said, hey, listen, you've been shortlisted. They want you to read the whole episode and send it in. You've got the weekend to do it. I said, I'll have it over in 10 minutes. I was so excited, and I got it done right away. And then another few months went by, nothing. And then they called me in to do a test. The rest is history.
I want to go ahead. Let's play the clip, the opening sequence to Backroad Truckers.
Nice.
Canada's remote interior is home to a different breed of trucker.
Hang on, boys.
Making their living on the back roads.
To make cash flow, we gotta go.
Hot-shotting vital cargo to impossible locations.
Oh, shit.
And keeping remote businesses running.
You made good time.
I decided to take a shortcut. Badass!
That totally is badass, and I love the intro to that.
Yeah, me too. Those guys are a lot of fun. I haven't met any of them in person, but when I was recording, I'm watching all these episodes, and they got some colorful language, so it was a lot of fun. That intro was actually the sound test that I did before I even had the part. They called me in to do the test, and that was the test, and they ended up using it.
It's brilliant. It's perfect. And I'm going to tell you, thank you to everyone who's tuning in to Live on Air with Stephen Cuoco on Power 98.5 Satellite Radio. We have Jesse Arthur Carroll, actor, voiceover, talent beyond compare. This is the first time I've ever interviewed someone such as Jesse here. And what a great honor, because this is so different than normal for me. I mean, usually I'm producers, directors, musicians, actors. But you're everything. Like, exactly as an actor, as someone who's a smack talker, have to add that in there.
Yeah.
But a voiceover, a professional voiceover, this is extremely rare because you're coming in from a technical side that most people don't get in the industry.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how I got into it too. I always wanted to do voiceover. I knew that as long as I wanted to be an actor. I didn't know how to get into it. And times have changed. Like when I first started getting into acting and getting training, there wasn't really home studios at the time. They didn't really exist. So you had to have an in and get into the industry. And usually they keep hiring at that time. It was just kind of like the same 10 guys locally, and you didn't really cross borders doing stuff. But now, because of home studios, a lot has changed, like even like dramatically, even in just the last 5 years. I think I'm going into my only like 5th year of doing it. And I actually, what really put me over the edge of getting into it was I was going through a breakup, and one of the things why we were breaking up, because it was an argument over money, and how not having enough of it, and always feeling like I needed more of it, and just not being able to support myself properly just through acting and working in the nightclub. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to handle this area of my life. And I took a step back and focused on myself and watched some YouTube videos on how to get started in voiceover. One of them, Bill DeWeese, definitely, if you ever wanted to get into voiceover, check out his videos. They're really short and they're easy to get into, easy to follow. And I just went out and I bought a basic home studio and just started using like cushions and stuff to stop sound reflections, and ended up getting on a site called Fiverr, doing $5 voiceovers for like 400 words, which is a lot of words for a little amount of money. But I was doing it so that I could learn how to do it properly and learn how to edit and just learn all the technical aspects, because you learn way faster by doing than just sitting in a classroom and having somebody, give you lectures about how to do it or critiquing your skills. You got to actually do it. And within a few months on Fiverr, I went from like making, I think, maybe $50 in my first month to clearing 500 to clearing over 1,000. And then kind of something clicked in my head, and I started looking at other online casting and different ways of making money doing voiceover, and started reinvesting all the money I made to make my home studio better. And within 6 months, I had a great livable income, and it's been great ever since. It's been a dream come true, really.
Do you find that most people come to you for technical support, advice?
A little of all, like it's funny the way voiceover works. You don't get to work with other voiceover artists a lot. It's usually just you in a booth. So I'm fortunate that I know a couple guys that have been doing it longer than I have, and they come to me for advice, but I go to them for advice as well. When you do find people in voiceover that you have friendships with, you really want to cultivate that and hold on to it, because you can send each other different auditions or pieces of work that you're working on, and get a second opinion on it. Because it's all about having a supportive community in this, especially in something like voiceover, because you don't get to work face to face or side by side even with other VOs.
What would be your biggest goal, Jesse, especially that, since you're going to be coming to the States? Jesse's currently in Canada right now. What are the major goals for you to come here? Because Canada and the States are completely different. And I know that from not only having friends in Canada, but from being in Canada and having visited your country.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's like the big hairy goals that seem so far out of reach sometimes that I've got. And then there's like, more immediate goals. Like, for instance, once I get to New York, the first thing I want to do is, just start booking work. That's going to be the first thing, just support myself as soon as I get there. But ultimately, I want to get a show. I want to get a movie. I definitely want to get more acting credits, not just voiceover. Voiceover has been great for me. And, I've got a show, and it looks like there's probably going to be a season 2. No word on that yet. They've got other stuff in development that I can't talk about now that I'm going to get involved in. And I've got that area covered. I love it, but I want to get more into film and TV. I really want to focus on that aspect. So I'm actually training via Zoom in New York right now with one of the best teachers, if not the best teacher on the planet. It's actually Sam Rockwell's acting coach, Terry Knickerbocker. And the level of professionalism and knowledge that this man has, it's changed my life. It's been incredible. And I can't wait to get to New York and do it in person.
I'm going to tell you, I truly believe with all my heart, Jesse, that before you get here, when you get here, it is your time.
Thank you.
You're too talented not to. And I want to go ahead and play this clip here of what you did for Gillette.
Introducing the new Gillette Fusion Pro Glide Power Razor. Turns shaving into gliding. The Fusion Pro Glide Razor is the most advanced blade ever. Thinner, finer blades with a low resistance coating. After one shave, you'll stop shaving and start gliding. Gillette, the best a man can get.
That's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a lot of fun to record.
How do you feel hearing that in this manner?
Great. You know, it's funny. Like that was a long time ago, that one. It's my voice has kind of gone through evolutions since then. So it kind of almost gives me like a sort of reminiscent sort of feeling at the moment, because my voice at that time is feels quite a bit younger than it is now. And my range has grown so much. So like now when I look at some of the stuff that I do, like Backroad Truckers, and it kind of shows me how far I've come since then. So, it's always nice to reflect on older stuff.
As a professional, to help teach us something, to learn something, do you find, or you're going to be going through these transitions or changes as an actor, as someone who's in voiceover, or do you feel that you're set where your voice is right now, and the only thing that's going to change it would be the technical side of what you're doing in post-production?
No, you've always got to be learning, always got to be growing, like nonstop. Even now, I mean, I'm in a pretty good spot, but I know I can be much further ahead, and there's a lot of work to do. So I'm working virtually on my voice as well with a lady named Marla Curbin out of New York City, and she's a legend in the business, and she's phenomenal. And I got on a session with her, and I was reading scripts, and right away she was like, "Okay, you're doing too much here, you're doing too much there." Like it was really humbling in the best way. Because sometimes when you got a lot of stuff going on and you're like, okay, I'm doing great, you get a little bit high on yourself and, you think you can do no wrong. And then it just takes like somebody who's at the top to like, listen, you're doing good, but there's some stuff you need to work on. And as long as you have that growth mentality, you're going to be fine in this industry. And I really try to cultivate that. I'm never going to stop training in acting and voiceover, because as soon as you are, someone's going to take your spot. You got to keep working at it.
I'm going to be making a little mini clip of these golden nuggets and these moments that you're sharing right now. And I just had to write down the time of that moment that you had there. You're very empowered when you're passionate, Jesse. You're extremely empowered. And I've realized that and experienced that even in our, at a studio, private conversations. You're incredibly powerful when you've got your heart and your mind and you know exactly who you are and what your purpose is. It really comes through, and it's coming through even in this interview.
Oh, thank you very much. It's been a long road. I'm not young. I'm in my early 40s now. And when I first got into this business, I first got into acting. I was probably in my early 20s, and I was in Vancouver, and there wasn't a lot going on back then. There was no streaming services, no Netflix. So there wasn't a whole lot of auditions, and I got into acting school and I got out, and I was kind of disheartened for a while. The only thing you could really audition for at the time was Stargate or Stargate Atlantis. And I wasn't going anywhere. So I actually kind of put it down for a bit and ended up getting into stand-up comedy and did that for like a decade. Ended up touring across Australia, got really far in it, and then kind of, sort of fell out of love with it. You know what I mean? Have you ever done something with your life and you were so sure that's what you wanted to do, and then you felt that it kind of transitioned, like your life had changed, you're not the same person, and you felt like it was time to kind of put that down for a while and pick up something else. And that's kind of how I felt with comedy. I'd done so much of it, it just sort of lost its sparkle, I guess. But what was happening at the time was the rise of all the streaming services and the industry in Vancouver. So I put comedy down for a bit, got back into acting, and started booking, stuff that's shot here locally a lot, which is a lot of Hallmark. And they've been really great to me and helped me cut my teeth on set. And I learned a lot from watching other people that have been doing it for a while, which is fantastic. But the one thing I think that's helped me more than anything, especially in acting and voiceover, has been reading books. Like, have you ever heard of a book called Mindset?
I might have.
I believe it's by a woman called Carroll Dweck. I think so. Anyway, a book like that book has been phenomenal for me because it helps you cultivate a growth mindset, which is so important. A lot of people think that they have like the talents that they have and they're just stuck with that, or the talents that they don't have that they'll never be able to acquire. If you have a growth mindset, you know that everything is attainable to you if you put in enough work. And failures aren't really failures. They're learning lessons. So if you seek to fail at things, and you learn from those failures, you're just going to naturally keep getting better and better and better. So that's how I try to look at my life now, especially in regards to acting or in voiceover. Anytime I have a failure, I'm like, okay, what can we learn from this? What can we do better next time? And it's really served me over the years. And I've been lucky to keep finding myself at a little bit higher level each year.
Do you believe as a seasoned veteran in a business, and I mean that to be, very ageless, when you shared about your age with all of us and those that are tuning in, and I want to thank everyone for being here with Jesse, Arthur, Carroll, as well as myself. Do you believe that if you were, let's say, 20, entering into the industry now, knowing that would you agree or disagree, or more specifically, let me rephrase, what would be your truth in effect, knowing what you know now in your 40s, but if you were to take all of that knowledge and enter it into, if you were in your 20s right now, would you do the trade-off, Jesse, or do you feel like you have best of both worlds? You have where it began, you've got the experience of how it transitioned into where we are at technically, online, streaming, and now you're set. You can dive in because you just have got the training. You've got the knowledge behind you.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, Steven. Thanks for asking. I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't go back. Everything I've gone through, all the struggles I've had, all the wins I've had, all the disappointments, everything, it's all made me who I am now. And I'm feeling the best and most confident than I've ever felt. I didn't have that in my 20s. I was really unsure of myself. Even if I had the knowledge that I have now, which, is obviously impossible, but even if I did, I don't know if in my 20s, I just don't think I'd be wise enough to be able to use it. Right now I am. And, I was reading your article about changes that you've gone through over the pandemic and, reflecting on how you become a different person. And I was sort of thinking about my life and how it's changed so dramatically since the pandemic. I mean, I worked in nightclubs on the side as a side job for 20 years. And that all ended when the pandemic happened. And my life changed dramatically. I booked Backroad Truckers. I took voiceover a lot more seriously. I got rid of a lot of negative influences in my life. Everything changed. And it's been incredible. And I think you really need to welcome change in your life. You need to welcome disappointments, failures, struggle, all of that. It all makes you the person that you are. It builds character. And that's invaluable.
How would you, and I want to thank you for reading that article that was just published yesterday in Digital Journal. Marcos did an incredible job. He knows how to present people in a best of light. And with that being said, one of the things I didn't touch on, and I would like to get your thought on this, Jesse, is where I didn't elaborate is, to digress a little bit back to where you were sharing and stating, like, going through the changes, having I'm paraphrasing here, having an idea of, who you wanted to be, what you wanted to do, and that dynamic, evolving differently. And I can relate to that. Many people can, especially in our industry. But I will say that, within the share during a pandemic of slowing down and being reminded of self, how do you relate with what I'm about to say to you is that I don't struggle with not being assertive or proactive. that is something that my brain and my body, especially my brain, goes through all the time of, should you be doing something, Steven? Should you be getting on a phone call? Should you be on Instagram and networking, setting up an interview? How quick do you want to respond to those emails? Sometimes I deal with the fact, Jesse, that I'm not moving fast enough. And even before the pandemic, I felt that things outside of me were not moving fast enough. And I was constantly sitting back, waiting for opportunities and people and situations to catch up. During a pandemic, it felt very balanced. I was like, I could finally breathe. However, now that everything seemed to be balanced and so many people were on the same wavelength finally, it was like, what the fuck do I do now? How do I get this accomplished? There is nothing to plug it in. And I'm still going through the motions and emotions, Jesse, of self-value. And I'm going to tell you, if it wasn't for the radio station, if it wasn't for my show, if it wasn't for the allies that I have in the industry that want my professional advice, just as what you read, to be able to meet incredible, talented people like yourself that I can say, you're beyond an acquaintance and associate. I want to value and I choose to value you because I see the greatness and potential in you, that I want to go ahead and jump into friendship, and there are different levels of friendship. Can you relate, and do you relate to the fact that, where do you plug in? How quick do you plug in? Does it emotionally and mentally weigh on you, Jesse, that, things are starting to open up, but it's like not fast enough? What is your purpose?
Well, I got to tell you, I connect with all of that. And I mean, when the pandemic first hit, I didn't slow down at first. I amped up because right away, I mean, my side job in the nightclub, that was done, and it was great. I loved it. I had kind of an identity formed around it. It was a fancy club here in Vancouver, and there were celebrities and that were walking around all the time and get to hang out with them, and sports stars and all that. And a part of my identity was that. And when that was gone, I was like, okay, now all I do now is acting in voiceover. How do we make this happen now? And I went insane. I went nuts. I went balls to the wall, and the rest of the world was slowing down. And it forced me to take a step back and just chill and relax for the first time in a very long time, because I'd been living fast and hard for 20 years. And it gave me a lot of clarity, It gave me a lot of clarity, a lot of confidence in myself as I figured out who I was outside of, my job, outside of different influences that I had. It gave me a lot of perspective in what I wanted to do with my life. Now, in regards to things starting to open up now, it's crazy because I'd slowed down so much and just kind of let life happen and let things that were meant to be happen. Things are happening in New York. I'm eager to get there. I keep seeing people that are in my class getting together in New York, and it's been driving me crazy. So I've been trying to amp things up and, get ready to go down to New York. And then I got injured recently, which forced me to, take another step back and chill and relax and focus on things that were important. I was talking to you just before we started the show about the parkour injury, and it sucks, but it's been a gift in many ways, because I was doing too much, and I needed to slow down.
Well, to share with you, and with that, and thank you for the reminder, because before coming out to Denver, where I am right now, being on the East Coast, and you're going to be going out at the perfect time because obviously I heard the masks have been lifted. I stayed away from the gym, and honestly, there wasn't a lot that I wasn't inspired to really get out personally, because I didn't see the value or the purpose. Because it's like, can you talk to somebody whether you're wearing a mask or not? What the heck can I do to still feel safe? Now, I didn't get paranoid and all this shit, but I was concerned. There's, with that. But being out here, like I went to the gym 6 days in a row. I felt free. I felt safe. I felt comfortable. So with that, I want to thank you for today's share of what happened with you, because part of me was thinking, maybe I should go to the gym. And then I was like, no, Steven, you're taking the day off. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for reminding me, because that was an unexpected injury that happened to you. And you went into it with the mindset, Jesse, that you've got this. And most people, before the pandemic, where we were all at is we were too confident in thinking and believing we had it. We were secure. And I do wish you great healing on that, because I truly do believe and see things moving faster, very steady for you. Your passion and your optimism within yourself is extremely inspiring. And so I do wish you a swift healing, especially before coming here.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I wish myself a swift healing too. Don't get me wrong. It's nice to take a step back and slow down. And, when you're on crutches, people open doors for you, and it's great in that kind of way. But I'd like to get back to the gym myself and start working. But, how you were saying, having that mindset of, I got this. I think that's a great mindset to have, but I think you also need to know your limits too. Like for me, when I got that injury, I just kept pushing it. Like, I don't know if your listeners know what parkour is, but it's, you're running around and you're grabbing onto bars and swinging and running up walls and jumping barriers and stuff. And I'm 42. I'm not a small person. I'm just about 6'3". I weigh 205 pounds, and I was running and launching myself off a wall. And it was, as I was telling you, it was my calf muscle. I heard a snap, and that was my tendon separating from the bone and then retracting up into my calf muscle. And it didn't hurt at first, but it was kind of a wake up call that, you can't be on your first day. You cannot be running up walls and going, trying to be a professional at it, pushing it. I've always tried to push things as hard as I can. And, when you push things too hard, they push back. So it's nice to get that reminder that, find your limit, but stay within it. Is that a cliche? I sound like an after school special now.
Honestly, no, it's seriously perfect, because Jesse, I'm telling you, for me, you are saving me from a world of problems, because, like I said, I went to the gym 6 days in a row. I was on that natural high, that dopamine, that serotonin, those endorphins, because I was like, wow, I'm able to go in a gym, and it just seemed to bounce back real quick, just like what you were feeling when you were doing the parkour. And, but I was feeling a slight tear in my, around my clavicle, not above my clavicle, up near like where my collarbone was. And I was like, uh-oh, body is telling me,
that's nasty.
You're on a road of getting screwed. And I'm like, no, I got to take at least a day or two off. And what was amazing is that sometimes, if not most of the time, a stranger or who you least expect will say something to you. But how often do you not realize that that actually was an intuitive message, or just a vibe, or that someone saw something in you? And 6 days ago when I signed up at the gym, I remember this young kid said to me, now remember to take it easy and take it slow. I knew in my heart that he wasn't saying that because it was something to say. He was saying that because something happened, and I was given a warning from the higher powers that be. And when I felt that little pinch, I was like, yeah, that was a warning from 6 days ago. Yeah, I'm not taking it as easy as I was warned that I should be taking it easy.
Yeah, for sure. Do you believe in a higher power or a universe, or what?
I do.
Are you nice? Nice.
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was like, I believe that there are demons and angels and spirits and poltergeists. It's like, it's not unproven. It's not a spirit. It's not about being spiritual or religious. These are things that, I do believe in, and not just believe in. These are experiences that friends, family members. I remember when I was 14 years old, I was in my bedroom. I was sitting on my bed, and because of the background that I came from, and if you read that, which I know you did in the recent interview, it's no secret of what type of background I came from. So I astral projected a lot from my circumstances. I learned at an extremely young age at 4, 5, 6, 7 of how to be able to leave my body. No bullshit. And I remember I was 14 years old. It was during the daytime. And I just was in a space to where I wanted to just take an exit. Sometimes clarity. When I was younger, I found clarity when I was able to step out from myself. And you can astral even being in your body. So with that being said, there's different ways to astral project. I mean, even in thought, meditation, mind, going into music. I mean, you can maneuver and travel anywhere within yourself. So with that being said, I fully exited out. And I remember I saw myself sitting there. You always stay connected, but I saw myself sitting on my bed. And I remember this white, very vividly, Jesse, no bullshit. This white angelic entity was to my right. And just something felt odd that it really wasn't what it was presenting, like something angelic and benevolent. I had a feeling there was something benevolent. And I remember that this entity asked if it could enter into me, into my body. And I had a spiritual battle, and this thing started to shapeshift. And then I started to see the malevolence in it. And I can't tell you if it was a poltergeist, a spirit, a demon, what it was. It could have been all the above, in my opinion. I categorize them all in the same. But I had a battle getting back in. I was 14. And like I said, that was the first and last time I ever fully exited or transported consciously from myself. So.
Oh, wow. Have you by any chance, and this is along the same subject, this is me changing the subject or anything, heard of, there's a film out there about sleep paralysis, which sounds a lot like what you're describing, where they'll fall asleep and they feel like they've left their body, and then they all describe the same sort of thing that you just described, where it's like this entity standing over top of them, and then it's like trying to get in them or at them, and then they like can't move or get away from it. Mm-hmm. I saw that and it scared the living crap out of me. I've never had that experience, but I'm just curious if you knew about it.
It's not, I haven't heard of that until you had told me, but it's not an experience you want to have. And one other, I have quite a few. Another one experience is, I remember I was probably about in my mid, maybe 27, 28, around that. And I was in my bed. I was sleeping on my right side, and I woke up. I could just feel that something else was in my room. As clear as I'm looking at your IMDb photo right now, as I'm recalling this memory, Jesse, there were three black, I don't believe they were demons. I believe they were aliens. 3 to the right, 2 to 3 in front, and then another 2 to the left. And I remember the one that was to the left of me, because I looked over my left shoulder, and the one that was to the left of me leaned over and said, "Don't look at me," and was very scary. I remember that something said, "Look away." And I remember I turned my head to the right. I put my face down in the pillow, and I remember lifting up my left hand, and I said, "In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, you do not have permission to be here. Leave now, leave my presence, leave my home. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, you do not have permission to be here. Leave now, leave my presence, and leave my home." And I remember I called out in such a desperate way to God to get rid of these entities, these demons, these aliens that were hovering over my bed. They ended up leaving, but I'm going to tell you, the most awake or awoke that a person may be may or may not share these things, but there is, without a doubt, the religious community has confirmed it. The world of science, people in science have affirmed and confirmed that there are things in this world, even the military, there are things in this world that are beyond human comprehension. Physical entity beings, science, religion, military. Now, with that being said, you can choose to believe what you want to believe. But when you've got science and religion backing it up, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what I believe. I believe I'm going to have some nightmares tonight.
No.
I'm definitely not going to be able to sleep after that. My God, man. 3 figures standing over top of you. Don't look at me. Oh, my God. This is terrifying.
It was.
How do you sleep?
You know what? I say a prayer every night before I go to bed, and you know the biggest thing of it is I go into everything to the best of my ability without fear. I have realized and I have come to experience, Jesse, that doubt and fear and uncertainty, especially when that doubt, fear, and uncertainty has to relate to self, if you're feeling very insecure, when you're feeling incompetent, irrelevant, irrational, that's when it creeps in. So I make sure that no matter where I go, what I do, awake or asleep, my intention is always that I am safe, I am confident, I am secure, and I am fearless. If you are not...
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm saying that to you in all of your travels. There is nothing to fear as long as you have a sense, Jesse, of being fearless, because you are confident and knowing that you make the right decisions. You're confident and you believe in your knowing, Jesse, that you are doing the right thing for yourself and for others. And as long as you lead, just as I had, that article that came out yesterday where I stated, with intentions, forgiveness, compassion, love, understanding, you're going to be fine. And if something, and here's the biggest thing, it's not just a fact of, okay, if we're looking at science or religion in a spiritual aspect of things that could be, there are 8 billion people in this world. One of the most scariest and unsettling things could be is if you don't know who you really are, or don't care to be, just like in the Jim Carrey post, people that live for the world, that's where you should be scared the shit out of. Because how many times, if you do things on social media or whatever, you get yourself in contracts or opportunities, most people like yourself, Jesse, when you book your gigs, they want something from you. You have an asset, your voice, your skills, your acting, your presence, your stage presence, somebody wants something and it turns into a transaction. But the number one question would need to be, especially you should know this with working in the clubs, of how people came in and out of those clubs in a very transactional way. They all had a purpose. What are you running towards? And what are you running away from? And as long as you know, Jesse, of what you're running towards and you're feeling at peace and you're not settling and you're not leveraging to give someone a piece of your power and empowerment and identity, you're going to be absolutely fine. But human beings do this every day. They give just a little bit of these little Jack and Jill breadcrumbs, someone else ownership of your peace, your sanity, and your identity. For what?
Yeah, exactly. Ain't that the truth?
So as long as you keep those boundaries, sustain those boundaries, Jesse, you're going to be safe. You're going to be successful, and you're going to move forward powerful and empowered. But there's not a but. And as you go forward, Jesse, as long as you know that you are not giving something and someone else a piece of you to own you for whatever it may be, you're going to attract the right people, the right opportunities at the right time, because those people are going to want to lift you up. They're going to want to support you. They're going to want to be able to keep you in sustainability, in wholeness. And you will know the difference when someone doesn't have intentions to keep you in wholeness. And that's where you've like, okay, yeah, demons. Yeah, well, a human person coming out wanting to take possession of you is a completely and scary thing, especially if they're threatening you. Well, you're not going to get paid. Well,
ain't that the truth? Well, I'll tell you, I learned a lot about people working in a nightclub. I learned a lot about people that pretend. You know, you see a lot of people at their base nature when they get really, really drunk, and it's interesting. You definitely learn a lot about people trying to use you. That happens a lot in nightclubs. So I think that's one thing that really serves me in this business is I can smell it a mile away. If someone's trying to use me for something or if someone's trying to befriend me so they can get something out of me, I can smell it. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things I'll get from so many years working in a nightclub is, I guess, the street sense that you get from being around that kind of environment.
And that's why you had that experience. And look where it's going to get you, and it will continue to be an asset for you.
Yeah, it's amazing how things like, you never see the big picture as it's happening, but when you look back on your life, you see how all of the building blocks added up to how you are today, you know? And I think sometimes people have trouble taking lessons from everything that they've gone through. When you look at things that were your biggest struggles when you're going through the time, you know, you're cursing out God or whoever, and you're like, oh my God, why is this happening? Why am I going through this? But when you take a step back and after it's over and you think, oh my God, like I wouldn't trade that for the world. You know, I've gone through some hefty stuff in my life, but it's definitely the stuff that makes me who I am and gives me the character that I have to overcome anything. I don't think that there's a challenge that would come my way that I wouldn't be up for.
Look at you're healing. You went through an injury, but you know, we know that you're going to be back at it. This was just a moment of, is not a setback. This could be considered a revelation. It could be considered a reminder, not a wake-up call, just a reminder to just gauge in continuing to check in with yourself, Jesse, and to pay attention to those little cues so that something bigger doesn't happen.
Absolutely. Totally. That's why, I mean, it's on the grand scheme of things, it's a minor injury. It's just, you know, it's going to be healed in probably 6 weeks or maybe a little more. That's nothing. I mean, people are dying of COVID out there, but I do take it as, you know, a reminder to definitely check in with myself and, you know, just think, am I pushing something a little bit too far? Can I work up to it instead of trying to get it all done in one day? You know, that's definitely one thing I take out of it.
For those that are tuning in, we have Jesse, author Carroll, with over 500 commercial voiceover credits and the voice of History Channel's Backroad Truckers. And I really, really hope season 2 comes out, not only so that Jesse can continue to work, make great money, continue to grace us with his voice and his talent and his inspiration, but he really is the fastest rising star of today. With experience and golden nuggets, I had written down like 5 little points that I'm going to go back through that Jesse has shared with us today, live on air with Stephen Cuoco on Power 98.5. It's been absolutely incredible. And Jesse, I want to thank you for the transparency. I want to thank you for your honesty. And I really want to thank you for helping and gifting the opportunity for those that are listening now and those that will listen to this episode in the future, your perspective to help and to inspire to prevent any future pain or problems, and to remind them, as you have done so well and elegantly in this moment, Jesse, and throughout, you know, the last 43 minutes is about self and about checking in with self and about the limitations and barriers and boundaries that sometimes we need to look at and set for ourselves and for other people.
Absolutely. But setting those boundaries, and it doesn't necessarily mean don't push through them. It just means don't overdo it at once. You know what I mean? Like the old saying is, Rome wasn't built in a day, so don't try to build it in a day. So, I would say that anybody that's trying to, you know, do something great or follow your dreams, just think about this. Like, I started getting into acting when I was in my early 20s. It started working out for me in my mid 30s. I got into voiceover in my mid 30s. In the last 5 years, things have been taking off for me. But there was about 15 years before that where almost nothing was happening, except for comedy. So it can take, some people, it happens for them like a rocket ship and then nothing. Some people, it builds up over time. If you're going to get into an entertainment business through voiceover or acting, focus on getting the skills. Don't try to make it all happen in one day. Just try and get really, really good at it. Try and be as good as you possibly can be at it. And then there's no denying. Someone will hire you, and then it's just going to snowball from there.
Perfectly said. Which brings me to, I'm going to replay the clip, your commercial voiceover demo. Those that have, once again, that have come in and into the mid of the interview, and I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule, tuning in through the Alexa app, the iOS, Android, even live through the website. And let's go ahead and give people a taste of your brilliance.
And everything in between.
Okay. Hold on, real quick. Let me reset this. Get to that. Here we go.
Canada's remote interior is home to a different breed of trucker.
Hang on, boys.
Making their living on the back roads.
To make cash flow, we gotta go.
Hot-shotting vital cargo to impossible locations.
Oh,
and keeping remote businesses running.
You made good time.
I decided to take a shortcut.
I've got to watch that now, seriously. I never heard of that show until I met you.
It's great. Like, you definitely got to. It's amazing. So basically what it's about is it's a bunch of, in a small town in the province that I'm in Canada, British Columbia, there's a place called Barrier, BC. And I think that it's a small population. I don't want to guess, because if anybody hears this from there, they're going to get mad, because I'm going to guess way smaller than it actually is. But anyway, so they have groups of backroad truckers, which basically they drive monster trucks through the back roads of Canada in the summer and the winter through all kinds of conditions, trying to get important goods from one place to the next. And sometimes they'll drive for a couple days at a time with nobody around, no backup. They'll bring fuel with them, and they'll get themselves into a lot of trouble and have to get themselves out alone. And when they were filming this, halfway through the pandemic hit, I don't want to ruin any episodes, but you see COVID hit during this docuseries, and the effect that it has on everybody around, and just like the look in their eyes, not understanding what's going on, and you just see the reality of what we used to have just start disappearing and turning into the new normal. And it's fascinating to see that way. But also, they swear like a motherfucker, so you definitely don't have your kids when you're watching it. But it's quite entertaining, because they use some very imaginative ways of swearing. Like, I didn't know you could do that many things with the F-bomb. So
really,
they're very imaginative. Oh yeah, oh yeah. You got to watch to see it, but it's amazing. Seriously. It's very funny too.
And like I said, we hope that season 2 comes out, because just by that short little clip, I mean, it looks like something different, like that I've never seen on TV before.
It's high octane for sure. There's never a dull moment. There's always stuff going on in it, so it's great that way.
We're gonna.
It was a lot of fun recording too. Oh, we're gonna close out? Okay.
No, go ahead.
I was saying it was a lot of fun recording too, because they play a lot of like rock music in it. Mm-hmm. So when I was recording it in the booth, usually when you're doing ADR and you're voicing things for a show, you'll hear the clip and then they'll make it silent afterwards so you can focus on what you're saying. I had them blast the music through my headphones so I could keep that same rock and roll energy for the show. And they were kind of skeptical at first, but then we played back the first episode of me doing that, and it worked out really well. It kind of gave a unique sort of rock and roll feel to it. And I think the show really captures that.
As long as there's no doubt and you're back on season 2, that's what we care about, because the vibe is there.
Right on.
So
thank you.
What I would like for you to do, Jesse, before we close out, and definitely stay on the line, So then, you and I can have a personal closeout and check in. Let everyone
absolutely.
know where to find you, where to go, website, Instagram. Where's the best go-to to book you, to find you, to friend you, to find out more about Jesse Arthur Carroll?
Yeah, you can find me at on Instagram at Jesse Arthur Carroll. And also you can check out my website, which is jessecarrollvo.com. Those are the two best places to find me.
And that's Jesse, Jesse, and then Carroll, Carroll. And the reason why I'm saying that, and then Arthur, going into that should be very, very easy. But Carroll is spelled differently. And I'm going to tell you,
people spell my name wrong all the time, both sides, the first and last name.
Sometimes it could have an E at the end. I've seen Carroll spelled.
Yeah, so usually a lot of people do it with the E, or it'll have one R or one L, or my name, they'll put an I in it. For Jesse, they'll put IE. But yeah, it's just an E for Jesse, and then 2 R's and 2 L's for Carroll.
Thank you again. And who would you like to give a shout out to, Jesse?
Who would I like to give a shout out to?
Yeah.
I would like to give a shout out to Terry Knickerbocker Studio in New York City, and my friend Anna, who's an inspiration.
Awesome. Check this episode out. I will be airing this at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, this Saturday, this Sunday. Today is Friday. I hope everyone is having a great weekend. I want to thank you, Jesse Arthur Carroll, for your insight, your transparency, just all around. I've been waiting for this interview, and I would have liked to have done it sooner, but things in its right timing, and this was absolutely perfect timing. Is there anything you want to close out with before we go, Jesse?
I just want to say that this has been an awesome conversation. It's been really great chatting with you and getting to know you. You're a very warm individual, and I really admire how grateful you are and your positive mindset.
And it takes people like you to continue to inspire me to do my best and be my best, because I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I want to withdraw and just take a break from other people and situations, but I get myself back out there. So I do battle and have loving and compassionate conversations with the introvert part of myself quite often. I had a feeling you got that one. Made sense.
Yeah, I did.
Thank you. Love you guys. Thank you for the inspiration. Thank you for being with Jesse Arthur Carroll, actor, voiceover, incredible all-around man and professional. And Backroad Truckers, Season 2. History Channel, don't give us any problems. We want Season 2.
Friend us on your socials and let's connect.